Hey everyone, welcome again to another exciting edition of Heavy Revy TV. I'm your host, Brian Christian. My wonderful wife could not join me today. We're actually in Ohio hanging out with some friends, and she's inside playing games. So I gave her a break, and since I had a few moments, I wanted to come on here. It's been a little bit. We have been having an amazing time, specifically in New York and now in Ohio. But I tell you, New York was off the hook. It was just phenomenal. I can't even tell you how amazing it was. Everybody there has just been sharing testimony after testimony of, you know, everything they received, everything that's been going on. And so I just want to come on here and just kind of just share a little bit about that before we get into today's session on plant medicine. And the only reason I'm bringing this is because of all the controversy. And for some reason, I just like to get thrown in the middle of controversy, I guess. And so, but I wanted to just share that, this last weekend was very unique. It was very amazing. What I found is the year before, we had a great time too. It's been great every time we go to New York with Jackie Myers. But we've been seeing the progressive unveiling. And last year, I was kind of the manifestor for everybody to enter in, whacking people, getting them drunk in the spirit, activating, revelating. And this time around, even though there was a lot of revelatory flow and all of that, it wasn't about Brian bringing a manifestation. It was about realizing we all are the manifestation of God. I mean, we're always looking for these manifestations and signs, but the fact that you can see people in front of you, they are the sign and the wonder of God looking in at you. And it was like we went to a new level of realizing that the fact that we are visible is the manifestation of God. And it was just wonderful, and a lot of love, a lot of community, a lot of healing. It was just amazing stuff happened. And people are already reaching out saying, we miss you. It seems like it's been forever and it's only been like a week, but we're like, I know. When you find unity, when you find yourself hidden in one another, I don't like to use the word tribe because it's still this separatist mindset, because we're all one tribe. But we do find those that we identify with in our journey, and we just feel like we can be ourselves with, and that's what everybody felt. And it was just so fluid. It was so authentic and raw and real, and people were just allowed to be who they are, where they are, and they were loved through the whole thing. And I think that's really the heart of truth, right? It's the heart of truth. And so now what has led me to, and I'm sorry for the spontaneous videos. We have not been able to schedule ever since we went on the road. It's been difficult, so we just have to spontaneously come on here. And we wanted to come on sooner, but we actually did not leave New York until I want to say Thursday. So we finished our last session, even though the conference ended Sunday. We were continuing. People were still there, and we continued to flow together until late Wednesday night, and then we took off Thursday and headed to Ohio. We will be in. Let me find my phone here so I can announce it. We will be in Indiana this next week, and Wednesday night in Fort Wayne, Indiana, we will be ministering at a house and just flowing together. It's going to be off the hook. So if you're in Indiana, near Indiana, in Michigan, not too far away, come on over. The address is 1114 Ruston Pass, Fort Wayne, Indiana 46825. Wonderful family, Joanne and Bill Johnson, not the Bill Johnson in Reading, but everybody thinks that, hey, is that Bill Johnson? No, it's a different Bill Johnson. But anyway, they're amazing friends. We connected with them through Kay Fairchild, and they're going to be opening up their house for Wednesday night. So we want to make that available. Let me go ahead, just for the sake of it, let me put this in. We're going to put Wednesday. I can't even spell Wednesday night, 7 p.m. And that's going to be 1114 Ruston Pass. I'll post it in here. Um, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And the zip is 46825. And it should be, let's see, gathering with us. I'll just put gathering with us. All right, good enough. So that should be in there. And hopefully everybody can see that. But I'm really excited. Let me get into what we're going to talk about today. So I shared on the last video that we did, I shared that, a little bit about plant medicine. I don't know how we got on that subject, but we did get on it. And I was asked, are you going to talk more about it? Do you have more information about it? I know it's a sore spot for many people, psychedelics, especially for the conservative Christian community, that somehow people think it's a party drug or, it's something to escape yourself. And I think we can use and misuse anything and everything in our lives. But I have to share with you a testimony, that I have not gone, I did go public with a little bit at the weekend. I felt like it was I needed to go public. And of course, this video is not to promote any drug use or illegal substance use. This is for educational purposes only. And I want to say that so that people understand that I'm not promoting either way. But I am neutral in the middle of it, saying that plant medicine actually saved my life. And I'm going to tell you why, okay? Most of you know that I walked through an autoimmune disease for the last, I think we're going on 3 years. And I was bedridden for, I think, 3 months when it first hit. Ate a bunch of vitamins, ate right, seemed to pull out of it for about a month. Then I was feeling sick again, and I would be back in bed, or I would just be, just going a lot slower. And then I got a lot of revelation on wholeness, and I broke through again. And this time it lasted 5 months. And so for that 5 months, I was like, wow, this is awesome. I went back to eating regular food. I felt great. And then a situation happened where we were at, where, there was just some misunderstanding of why we were there and why we were participating with a specific church that really could not receive, just couldn't receive me. I just didn't feel like I could be a pretender, to pretend to be something else. And anyway, it threw me for a loop, because, these people claim oneness. I'm thinking, okay, we all believe on the same thing. But, just because somebody claims something and information doesn't mean that they actually have arrived there or have actually had a transformation. We can easily swap doctrines. And I'm not going to say that was the totality of it, but there's a lot of wounds there that just couldn't allow reconciliation to happen on their part. And that threw me for a loop. And whatever it did, it exposed something in me emotionally that I wasn't conscious of. And immediately I was back in bed again. And this time, and you guys remember I did a post on this, this time it threw me for a loop big time. I started losing my memories. My immune system was attacking my brain and killing off neurons and memories. And to be perfectly honest, I tried everything. I tried meditation. I tried eating right. I tried supplementation. I tried over-the-counter, mushrooms of reishi and lion's mane and all of that. And I'd have temporary relief for a couple of days. And then, but I still wouldn't get out of bed. I would just start to feel clearer, and then it would go away. I mean, I couldn't even remember having a conversation with my wife a minute after it happened. And thus the reason why she actually started doing videos with me. She doesn't like being in the forefront. So she ended up doing videos with me to help me finish my sentences, because I felt that if I could flow, maybe I could remember who I am again. and it was looking like it was, basically medically, it's called advanced Hashimoto's. It can easily go into, Alzheimer's and dementia and this type of thing. And of course, the one thing I feared the most in my life was losing my memory. And so my own fears projected, manifesting, but I couldn't get out of it. No matter how many shift sessions I did on myself, no matter how much I ate right, spoke right, meditated, I couldn't get out of it. Now, I'm not saying that that's for everybody. It's going to be different with each person based on what's being emphasized in their life. And so now to backtrack a little bit, about a year and a half ago, about a year and a half ago, I'm connected with some people that, they're spiritual, they love God, they love Christ, and they felt like they were connecting with the indigenous, with more of the Eastern way, with more of the native way. And anyway, they were doing plant medicine, psilocybin, magic mushrooms, and leading people into a ceremony to, in a sense, learn to love themselves. And at this point, I had not researched any of this. All I had to go on was my experiences, when I was a teenager, taking a lot of acid, taking a lot of shrooms, and doing it to party or run from myself. And I can remember some of those experiences being really intense, and not knowing that it was triggering and trying to get me to face myself. I would just then go to Coke or meth or alcohol to kind of kill off what the plant medicine was trying to show me. So I didn't see any fruit back then. So I was very biased because of my conclusions about my own experience and lack of understanding the purpose of plant medicine. And even though these guys were gracious enough to keep me around, and even though I'd say, "Oh yeah, you want to do shrooms? Great, go put on some Pink Floyd, get a black light, and have a trip, because that's all you're going to get. You don't need anything outside of you. You have Christ in you. Why the heck would I need that? I have encounters all the time," and and all of that. But thank you, Daniel. And it's hard because you can't see your own blind spots many a times. And I have to humble myself and say, you know what, I was wrong, I was judgmental, and I was biased. And it was out of my own traumatic experience and out of believing the system's interpretation of some of these substances. And so when it came down to it, when I was bedridden, and this was literally, I just got out of bed, like I'm going on like 2.5 months since I've been out of bed. But I was in bed a total of 6 months in South Carolina out of 10 months of being there. And I want to say 3 months in, 3 months into being in bed and getting ready to sign my will, write my will, and say goodbye, I had this desire to live. And I wanted to live, but I was running out of answers. So I'm researching, I'm looking for supplements, I'm looking for whatever I can find. And I come across an article that says psilocybin or magic mushrooms, there's a possibility it might be able to reverse autoimmune disease. And I'm thinking, well, if my immune system is attacking my brain, and my brain is what is sending the signals to my immune system, maybe if I deal with the brain, I'll deal with the immune system. And I wanted to deal with it in any way I could. I really didn't care what method I was going to use anymore. I was desperate. I'm going to tell you something. When you're desperate to get free, to get healed, you won't care anymore what it takes. You just won't care. When we're still comfortable in our misery, then we'll pick our favorite things or our biased things, things that, we believe are good, but other things that we believe are bad, we'll stay away from, and all of that. And there's a truth, there's a balance on both sides of that. And so I ended up calling up my buddies and saying, "Hey man, forgive me. I was wrong. I missed it. I misunderstood it. And I'm in a situation where I'm ready to try anything." So, I ended up getting some mushrooms, and I started a 3-month process, not microdosing, but because I tried that, I just didn't feel like anything was going on. So I went with moderate doses of a medium strain of mushroom. And so it wasn't that strong, but I was doing about 3 to 3.5 grams once a week. And then once a month, I would do what's called an ego disillusionment experience, where I would take 8 to 10 grams to break through all of my ego, all of my mindsets, okay? And after the second time, and I'm going to tell you, some of the experiences were not pleasant for me. Some of them were very scary. Some of them really made me face myself at levels that I didn't even know existed. And so that's really what the word psychedelic means. It means mind's manifested. It has to do with you facing yourself. And so it wasn't something I looked forward to every week. It was something I had to prepare myself to do every week. And I'd sit there and I'd breathe. Okay, I'm going to do it now. Okay, here we go. What's going to happen this time? But let me tell you, after each experience, there would be more and more fruit of freedom, healing, emotions. And by the through the second experience, when I first started, I didn't even care if I got healed anymore. It was like I was on a path of loving myself, and it just nothing else mattered. Okay, and I'm telling you, many a times our pursuit of getting something needs to lead us to a place of simply embracing who we are, that gives us everything we need. And that was kind of what was going on. So anyway, by the end of the second month, I was on a moderate dose, not a high one. And I had a real deep experience where I was taken before, again, now this was another area. I didn't believe in aliens. I didn't believe in the whole starseed thing. I didn't even heard of what a starseed was. I didn't know any of that. I've been tucked away in, Christianity. And so I start having this visitation from the Galactic Federation is what they called themselves. And there were all these different beings. Some looked human, some didn't. Some were blue, some were really tall with white hair. And the tall one with the white hair said, I'm a Pleiadian. And the blue one said, I'm a Arcturian. And then there was an Andromedan that was kind of bluish white. And I seemed to know them. And I'm thinking, well, I'm on shrooms. Who knows, what's going on here? And I began to have a conversation with them. And I said, how do I get rid of Hashimoto's? And they laughed and they said, there's no such thing. I said, what do you mean there's no such thing? They said, that's your 3D memory in your body concluding on a reality that's really an illusion based in memory, based in perception. They said, your mind is seeing now in 5D, but your body is still living in 3D. It's time to upgrade your DNA. As soon as they said that, I was inside my body watching this huge DNA strand, and it was unraveling one direction and raveling and twisting up the other. And when it did that, I was instantly out of bed. All the pain had left my body. And if you know anything about Hashimoto's, it feels like all your joints are out of socket. It feels like all your organs are made of rocks. Your kidneys are in pain. Your prostate is enlarged. You have a hard time peeing. You can't think. You have no energy, and you have shooting nerve pain through all the different parts of your body, burning through you like you're a voodoo doll, getting stuck with needles. Okay, so it's not fun. And then you go from being, constipated to diarrhea, and you're bloated all the time, and you're dizzy, and you feel like you're. For me, it was a low blood pressure because of not moving. All kinds of stuff. I had it so bad to where I laid there for so long that when I went into a chiropractor, they said, when did you break your spine at the base? And I'm like, have you been in a wreck? I said, no, I have no idea. But my spine was broken and healed crooked. And my whole right hip was completely out of socket, and I haven't fallen. That was me laying in bed, and I was withering away. My bones were getting brittle. It was crazy. And so 2 months into this experience, I have this encounter with the Galactic Federation, and I'm instantly out of bed and whole after that, right in the middle of that experience. And it has remained ever since. And that's been about 2 months ago. Okay. And so they said to me, we're going to give you a sign that all this is real. And about 3 days later is when all over TikTok and the news, remember the unidentified flying objects are saying it's a balloon. It's it's blue stream, it's the government conspiracy, it's this, it's that, whatever, drones, whatever. Either way, those signs came 3 days after. And then I think the day after I had this experience, I got a call from somebody who had no idea what I experienced, who said to me, I got this word for you the other day. I don't know what it means, but does Galactic Federation mean anything to you? And I'm like, yeah, now it does. And a day after that, another lady who called me and said, I had a vision of you, and you're from the third star in the Seven Sisters of the Belt of Orion, and you are a Pleiadian. And I'm going, well, that's what the Pleiadians told me. And so I'm sitting here going, okay, this is crazy. I rolled my eyes at this stuff. And again, there's a religion out there on everything. There's a religion on plant medicine. There's a religion on aliens. So I'm not telling you I've entered a religion here. I'm just sharing with you an experience and how I'm starting to receive some truths that are coming out of these places. But I haven't concluded on anything in the sense of absolutes, because I don't think there's such thing as an absolute. I think we're on a journey of experience, and that should be our focus, is experiencing life and looking for love, and so this is a crazy experience. I almost didn't come on here and share this, Desiree, because you got to realize how I've been presented and seen is people trust me, people know Brian's balanced, that that I'm not an extreme person. I might be extreme in how excited I get, and so I agree, Desiree. How about the woman with the 12 stars? That's it right there. So we know there are scriptures that speak of Pleiades in the book of Job. We know in Corinthians there are celestial and terrestrial beings. We know that, there's other scriptures that point to the fact that Abraham was told to speak to the stars, and that there's the morning star, and that even our biological makeup is made from the same gases as the stars. And Daniel, in the book of Daniel, you are as the stars. So we know that I don't think we originated here now. I don't believe that anymore. Now, I hadn't studied any of this stuff. And of course, anytime I have an experience, I immediately start researching, because I want to know, what just happened. And I don't want to go out in la la land, right? And so me being prejudiced against plant medicine and prejudice against aliens, I'm now all of a sudden saying, well, I experienced both and I was set free. And it was a combination of both that changed my life. Okay. I mean, not just changed my life, but I mean born again, as in deeper I've ever been, and the clearest I've ever been, and the freest I have ever been, to simply be me, with no strings attached, and with no need to walk on eggshells to please anybody else's mindset, just in case they don't like me. And that's all gone now. It's just gone. Friday night at the last Friday night at the conference, I started to share my shroom experience as just an encounter. Don't mention shroom. Don't mention psychedelics. What will people think? And I realized, why am I ashamed of my freedom? And I realized that is ridiculous. I'm telling on myself. I don't care. I got to say it, because I'm not going to sit here living in shame and end right back up where I was, because I've negated and renounced the very thing that was used to break me free. So I am very proud of my alien experience and my shroom experience. I'm going to tell you right now, no holds barred. I've got no caution on it. I will give some cautionary things as we go along, things that have helped me, and even some of the patterns that I used to help me break through, because I didn't just take shrooms and sit and watch, Pink Floyd The Wall or anything like that. I used frequencies, and I went blindfolded, and I had intentions, and I had a purpose, and it wasn't to get high, and it wasn't to party. Okay, I'm not against the recreational use of small doses of this, but there's a fine line between recreation and escapism, and I think what we need to do is heal ourselves before we even consider recreation. recreational use of any type of hallucinogen, for that matter. Now, I was an expert in hallucinogens as a kid. Timothy Leary was my idol as a teenager. I said, when I grow up, I'm going to be the next Timothy Leary. Well, who knows? Maybe that's what's happening now. But I will say this, the way it was done back then, people weren't doing it to face themselves. They weren't doing it to heal their wounds. They were doing it to party and to escape themselves. And so that's why it backfired and was not as useful as it could have been. It was being used in labs and clinical studies in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And it was healing people of depression and all of these things. And I just think it's strange that Nixon with his war on drugs and Reagan with his say no to drugs really wasn't there to protect you from some, substance that could hurt you, but was actually the war on plants and plant medicine. And it was really about bringing in big pharma and bringing in addictive chemicals to keep you subject to the system they created for you. If you research some of the shadow government stuff, and I'm not into all the conspiracy stuff, but but if you research, you'll find FBI, CIA, some of these other shadow government agencies, they have been using psychedelics, psychic powers and frequencies and alien technology to build the very matrix they have used to keep you asleep and to keep you subject to their agenda. And, and that's one of the reasons they wanted psychedelics illegalized, because if you take it correctly, and just like you said, Desiree, there is healing in the leaves. And Jesus made it plain. He said, physician, heal yourself. And a physician uses medicine. And so I think we get caught up in so much of the charismania that we're trying to always spiritually do something. And we've separated our spirituality from nature, from our visible life. And it's all one spiritual experience, right? And good to see you, Tracy. And yeah, Desiree, you know what I'm talking about there. You got some revelation that I need to get from you. And so, there was an agenda. I mean, just looking at the agenda of the system wanting to make it illegal because they want to keep people asleep, not because it hurt anybody. I know we heard stories. Well, people were jumping off of buildings. They were tearing their eyes out. Actually, they weren't. That was all made up stuff. Just like the pandemic, media coverage. A lot of that garbage was made up. Okay. So the system is not here to help you. If you believe in the American dream, you're asleep. And if you're asleep, you don't know what the heck's going on. You're just under the manipulation of the system. And again, I'm not against America, but I am against the politicians or the political agenda that is to keep people from knowing themselves and from coming into the freedom of who they truly are. And so, I did it for 3 months. I still microdose every now and again. And it has changed my life. And it has so changed my life that, I can't, again, on this video, I can't tell you, you need to go do it because this is for educational purposes only. But I know there's coming a time where for some of you, there are clinical studies where you're at and it's been legalized and you need freedom from depression. You need freedom from, mushrooms is where I really felt, Desiree, where I got most of my freedom. I haven't done ayahuasca. I haven't done DMT, or MDMA or any of that. But I have done, back in the day, LSD, which I find is more of an external thing, more of a conscious renewal of your consciousness, being conscious, and is less emotional and more cognitive and more in detail with visuals. But in magic mushrooms seem to be more internal, more emotionally based, and so I used magic mushrooms, and and so it's kind of funny because one of my most powerful experiences was on a strain called Tidal Wave, and so the tidal wave was rated the strongest ever recorded in history of magic mushrooms, 100 times stronger than any other magic mushroom. That was in 2021. It's a hybrid between two different strains, and those the cow patty ones. Well, now they can grow them you can grow them in a little bag, and they've got grow kits that grow every kind of mushroom. It works the same with the magic. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if these were grown under. I hope not. That would be nasty tasting, but maybe. Not sure. But either way, I decided to take a large amount of this, and I had a major encounter that completely deconstructed my Christianity. And then I confirmed a lot of it afterwards. I went back and looked at a prophetic word over my life in 2007, and the word was, "You're getting ready to catch the wave, and you're going to ride a tidal wave across America, and whole entire family lines are going to be delivered, generations and families and all this stuff." And it really connected with what's going on right now with plant medicine. And I believe there is definitely a place for it. Now, let me just kind of warn and give some caution here. It's not for everyone. Let's just say as it is. It's not for everybody. If you've got, undiagnosed, schizophrenia, and it might not be good to jump in and take a dose. Now, I'm not saying if people that have kind of disassociated mindsets that they can never do it. I think if there's been a process of healing and restoration, and you've been working through it, and you have you have coaches and counselors, and you're working through things, maybe microdosing, maybe something that would lead up to a psychedelic experience that could reunite you later on. But it's really not encouraged if you have undiagnosed schizophrenia, or if you have epilepsy. It can bring on a seizure. And again, this has nothing to do with the biological side of it. This has to do with your mental state triggering an epileptic seizure. So remember, you're dealing with the mind. And so again, psychedelics are not a party drug. They're not they're medicine. Okay. There's can't remember what it's called, but it's an herb. It's called something nettle. I can't remember what it's called, but it's an herb that's poisonous. If you eat it, you'll die. But if you cook it up and mix it with another herb, it'll heal you. So again, it's the way you use things. I mean, you could take one ibuprofen and it'll help with, pain in your body. But if you take the whole jar, you're probably going to die. Okay. So, but it might not be nettle, but it's something nettle. There's two different nettles, Desiree, or I'm saying it wrong. But there is an herb out there that if you eat it, it'll kill you. But you cook it a certain way and mix it with another one, it'll heal you. So I know that it all comes down to how we use the things we have. And I don't think it's a coincidence that right after a pandemic and all the emotional and mental anguish that came through that psychedelics are coming in to heal us. And I think that it's important that we take seriously what is going on as divine, because I do believe it is a divine setup to break us free from more religiosity, from more fear of the unknown, more caution. And no, it's not nettle tea. It might be, maybe they already mixed the stuff in there, but I know there's one. I'll have to find what it is. Sorry, I don't have the right word for it, guys. But when people do the magic mushrooms, you're not supposed to be. Maybe it's pokeweed. Brandy might know, but either way, who cares? Let's move on. So when somebody does psilocybin, we got to understand. Let me just kind of give you the overview here, so you are not hallucinating when you take psychedelics. Not like you think. When you hear the term hallucination, it means to see something that isn't real. So why the heck would you want to do that? That seems like you're avoiding yourself again. Getting out of the mundane and let me just see some cool stuff so I'm not bored or whatever. But the hallucinogens actually lift the veil of the 3D world that is your hallucination, because your brain is actually producing DMT at small amounts in your brain, which is the most powerful psychedelic there is. And it's in every animal and every plant, and it's in all of our brains. And it's cycling through. And the problem is it's not a strong enough amount to break us out of the hallucination of the 3D visible grid or the matrix. And if our pineal gland is, and you have to, I'm not going to do, I might do a video at some point on pineal gland, but that's your third eye. If your pineal gland is calcified from the fluorides and all the processed foods that they feed you on purpose to calcify it to keep you from waking up, if it's calcified when DMT is releasing from the brain, and it will release in extreme situations that feel like near-death experiences, or stressful situations. That's when DMT begins to release in your brain. But if it can't pass through the pineal gland and magnify itself, or you look through the pineal gland third eye in your experience of the natural DMT in your brain, then you're going to look through your two front eyes. And your front eyes are connected to your frontal lobe, which is basically connected to 5 senses, to your logic, to your left brain, to your intellect, reasoning. And so what happens is DMT circles around through your reasoning, and you get to what? Confirm your reasoning, known as a world of limitations. The limitations, right? Yes, pot also decalcifies the pineal gland as well. I'm actually taking a pill. I wonder if I should, I'll just say what it's called, Third Eye. And it's actually, I think, a bark from a tree. And it's on Amazon, and it also helps. You take it before bed, and it decalcifies and makes your pineal gland healthy. So I'm totally into, using proper supplements, but not going overboard. And so, yes, correct, Sherry. You said, okay, so if they aren't hallucinations, then dreams aren't either. Correct. Dreams are your multiversal self, in which you're probably living out another version of you in an alternate reality most of the time, unless it's a pizza dream, which can be imagination surfacing as well. So you can have that as well. Yes. So we are hallucinating right now by concluding that our third dimensional world is our ultimate reality. That is a hallucination, and it is an illusion. Nobody can actually prove it. That this is actual reality. We can only assume that we're experiencing a level of reality. Again, that doesn't mean we throw away the 3D. We just don't want to be entangled in it. And so when you take mushrooms or higher doses of DMT or psychedelics, it shuts down the frontal lobe, or your ability to manipulate yourself through the egoic side of your own wounded perception that survives on reason, intellect, and conclusion. That is shut down. It closes off. So if you could look at your brain kind of like a circle, if you could look at your brain as a circle, I wish I had some charts right now, but let's say, do I have a pen here? Man, I don't see a pen, too bad. Just picture a circle, and inside the inner edge of that circle are 3 lines intertwined all the way around, a blue one, a green one, and a red one. That's your thoughts. Your thoughts go circular around your mind in the inner or outer part of your mind, okay? And if you shut down the bridge, the frontal lobe, then it breaks the circular flow of memory and thoughts, and it begins to, with magic mushrooms, create new neurological connections straight across, from side to side and front to back, in which you now begin to enter into a grid of the quantum field. So it literally begins to cross as a grid like the quantum field. And what happens is your whole mind begins to wake up. It is a mind expanding experience more than a hallucinogenic. Yeah, you're going to see stuff, but are you really seeing uh, something from a hallucinogen, or are you seeing what's in your own mind or seeing beyond the veil of the 3D? So a lot of people, not only have they been healed of emotional stuff and PTSD and even physical healings, and even stage 4 cancer, I mean, tons of things. But there's also spiritual experiences that seem to be confirmed by everyone who does what is called an ego disillusionment experience, which is usually 3.5 to 5 grams of psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms. Now, when psilocybin goes into the stomach, it breaks down and turns into psilocin, or depending on how you pronounce it, psilocin or psilocin. Okay, and that psilocin works its way through the blood and into the brain, and converts to the same serotonin molecule. Looks just like a serotonin molecule, and it comes over and it fits like a perfect puzzle piece over the serotonin molecule, which then allows the release of all the chemicals in your brain that are uh, expressing subconscious. Okay, and so basically your subconscious becomes conscious, and in a sense, like Sherry said, you enter a dream world while you're awake, in which you walk through your own DNA, you walk through the subatomic particles, you walk through all of these multidimensional states, you meet all these entities, which are really just you coming to you in an allegory of your own mind. But you walk out a lot of fractals, a lot of colors, a lot of lights, and so what I would do in my sessions is I would lay in bed. Sometimes I'd have Shauna in there with me, but she'd be checking on me just to make sure I'm okay. Because sometimes when you're in these places, you don't know where you are, who you are, or what's going on. And so you you want some support, you want guidance. And I would sit in there and I'd turn all the lights off, and sometimes I'd blindfold myself, or I'd just lay there and with my eyes closed, and I would use high frequency sounds at different times depending on where I was at. So when I was in a place where I was afraid to go in, or I was afraid of what I might see, I would put on these high frequencies that release natural DMT in the brain and decalcify your pineal gland. And they also irritate the hell out of you too when you're in that situation sometimes. But what it would do is it would help me embrace. And then after I'd embrace, I could change the frequency down to more of a medium tone of maybe a DNA detoxification, or aligning of chakras, or the removal of anxiety and fear. And there's different frequencies for different things, because you're a frequency. Every time you're happy, you release chemicals into your body that release wholeness. And every time you're angry and upset, you release chemicals into your body that, attack your body and promote sickness and disease. And so if at the base of our subatomic particles, we are strings of light, why are we looking like biological beings? Because it's the mind's interpretation of its environment that causes us to appear as something other than what we actually are. And so if DMT is being released in the brain naturally, but not enough because the pineal gland is calcified, then it cannot gain the momentum to shut down the frontal lobe and cause us to enter behind the veil, and to go inward and to discern, who we truly are. And so this is what's going on a lot. There is a book that I recommend you getting called The Psychedelic Gospels. And if you look at this book, you're going to see Jesus. There's a picture of Jesus there with magic mushrooms. Now, they kind of made a cartoon version of this, but this comes from an original mural that was in the churches in Europe and some in Ireland. Before the earlier centuries. I don't quote me on this. I want to say right around 3rd, 4th, 5th century, all the way up to about 14th, 15th century, when the church became more intellectualized, and they took all of the Christian icons out of church history, buried them under churches, destroyed them, to hide the history that Christianity was founded on psychedelics. Now, it's going to trip you out when you realize that psychedelics go back thousands and thousands of years. And I think we have, what, 13,000 years ago, our first documentation of it. But there are ancient Egyptian and Sumerian and other ancient texts that had pictures of spacemen coming down, aliens, and also of mushrooms and other plant medicines. And in fact, many believe that during even some of the communion times of Christianity in the first, several centuries, that it wasn't wine and a piece of bread, but some concoction of some level of plant medicine, whether it be ayahuasca, mushroom tea, or what have you. Mushrooms were known as the flesh of the gods, and it was used to build every religion that we have experienced on the face of the earth. The first main religion connected with shamanism, and shamanism, a lot of different shamans work with plant medicine. And so it was the way in which you first beheld there's got to be a God, because look at what I experienced. And I mean, if you can imagine being a caveman on the earth, whatever they, however they communicated, they obviously started eating from the fields, and they ate a mushroom and started realizing something beyond what they knew. And I think it began to develop language. I think it began to develop a lot of the intelligence, because if you study mushrooms, and I don't even mean magic ones, every kind of mushroom, they are the digestive system for the whole planet. A good movie to watch or documentary is called Fantastic Fungi. It's on Netflix, and it's all about how basically without mushrooms there would be no life on this planet. They colonize, they network the communication of all living things, especially the trees and the forests. They have mycelium, which is what allows creation to grow. And so there is creation within mushrooms in which they can continually beget creation. All right. And our DNA is about 90% the DNA of mushrooms. So when it comes to plant life, animal life, and fungi life, we are more related to fungi than we are anything else. Another interesting thing about specifically magic mushrooms is it's the only thing that you can throw into space and it will survive of any kind of food product. Magic mushrooms can actually survive space. Now, when I think of that, I think of, well, did they originate on Earth like we think, or were they brought here by the Anunnaki, which is the earliest story ever told by anybody that's been at least found thousands of years before the Jews, before Israel, and before Christ. It was the Anunnaki. And I'll get into that on another, because I do want to go into the star seeds at another time. The Anunnaki is just simply a general term for many races of aliens that came here hundreds of thousands of years ago to mine the planet of gold for their planet. They needed gold dust to throw around their atmosphere to reflect and get more sun, because the elements it wasn't warm enough. There wasn't enough sun. So they were using it to reflect more sunbeams into their planet to warm their planet. Okay. And supposedly in that process, they created, upgraded DNA, and they put all their DNA together and created humans to serve and to mine. And what's amazing is the same Garden of Eden story was thousands of years before Moses wrote it. And who knows, Moses was trained in the ways of Egypt. So maybe he was talking about the Anunnaki, not about the God of Abraham or Isaac or Jacob, but the gods plural, which is actually the original text, was the plurality of gods, not a single God. That came in later when religion and culture, when culture really began to take what's been heard and form it into these boxes and religions. That's why God is always known as Elohim, is because it's the many as one. And so anyway, I'll get into that another time. Let's get back to the mushrooms. So if you decide to get this book, I want to say it was written in the 40s, but they've definitely updated it. It's by Jerry B. Brown, PhD, and Julie M. Brown, MA. It's a couple that are just like the perfect couple because their beliefs are opposite, so that they have to contend with one another for proof. And I don't know about you, but I like to see proof. I no longer just believe things because the preacher said or because somebody said hallelujah. I actually look for proof, evidence. I don't just believe because somebody wrote in a book 1,000 years ago that this is true. I want evidence. So there is evidence because they found a skull, by the way, of the aliens, a big skull. They couldn't do the DNA testing until recently, and they scraped it. And part of our DNA that science could not figure out where it came from was directly connected to these large skulls that look like grays. They look like the gray aliens. And so we know that we're there. But in this book, you're going to find that it's going to give you historical stuff, a lot of pictures of, let me see if I can find this one. There's a really good one in here that blew my mind. And it was a picture of Isaiah. And it was Isaiah receiving the coal on his lips. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. But the coal on his lips, remember it says he touched the coal and now your lips are clean. And he says, and he, send me in Isaiah 6. Well, in the drawings that were in the churches in those days, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to find it right now. But anyway, it wasn't a coal of fire that was being touched to his lips. It was a magic mushroom. And then the next scene is him with armfuls of magic mushrooms with a big smile and big dilated eyes running to the people as they're reaching for the magic mushrooms. So this seemed to be a regular thing. Every religious culture back in those days used plant medicine as spiritual purposes and to break through and talk to the gods and that type of thing. So there's definitely a history of it, and it was hidden when Christianity became even more religious and wanted to hide our history from us and shame those that wanted to get set free. And so I'm coming out to break that and to tell you that, if you know me and I'm a guy that I'm going to seek things out. I believe in proof. I believe in fruit. I believe in integrity and righteousness and holiness and all of that. I'm not just out there tripping out. Done over 400 hours of research on this. I'm even thinking about taking some schooling on it and becoming a certified guide, because I believe that psychedelics can benefit you, but they can also mess you up if you are not in the right setting. So what is important here? Set and setting. Set is your mindset. Remember, you're not going to, have some tragedy happen and go and drop some acid or magic mushrooms. Guess what's going to be the big part of your trip? All the tragedy that happened. You don't want to do it in a bad mood. What you want to do is you want to first have an intention. What's my intention? Well, it's not just to see what it's like. What do I have in my life that I'd like to see change? Areas where I feel like I'm lacking or struggling. What are some areas? Is it depression? Is it condemnation? What is it? Is it something physical? Do I just feel hopeless? I just don't know myself and want to. Don't get a big old long list, but if you do get that big old long list of all your intentions for taking it, sum it up into embracing yourself, knowing yourself, going deeper to experience who you truly are. And then the second thing is setting. So that's the set, is your mindset. Second thing is setting. Setting is you're going to do it in a place that you feel safe, with people you feel safe, and they're not going to be necessarily doing it with you. I don't think you should get a whole crowd of people trying to do shrooms together, because one's laughing, the other one's crying, and the one that's crying thinks the other one's laughing at them, and everything gets twisted. So you want to put on a blindfold. You want to have mainly maybe two if they know each other and they want to do it together. You blindfold them. You use frequency music. In fact, I've got a playlist on my YouTube channel called Frequency Music or Frequency Songs, and I've put about 38 different beats on there with high, mid, and low frequencies that are used for meditation, for realigning chakras and these types of things. Very beneficial. I found that not using the music, I did not see as big of a breakthrough in my own journey. And so being in the set, in your mind, the setting, with the right people, having a plan. What is the plan here? It's not let me just tell you, it is not a magic pill or a magic plant as it is magic mushroom, but it's not like a cure-all. So don't think you're going to take it once, be cured of everything, or take it 100 times and be cured of everything. You have to integrate your experience. And this is the next really important thing, that integration is important. And so what is integration? That means that when you come back from this experience, everything your mind has experienced takes it as literal and real. And this is it, black and white, literal. That's how your mind takes it. Now you've got to be able to break it down allegorically into the present theme of your life and how this experience was answering the needs in your life, and begin to integrate that into action, begin to partner. Mix this with other tools like, we do shift, which is separating historical illusions and finding truth. And that's dealing with emotional perception and pain. We do these sessions on people. This would be a great additive to where sometimes you can only get so deep into people's emotions because there's so many walls and you get stuck and you kind of hit a ceiling. And so, taking a 5D session, which is what I experienced, a 5D session, taking that and helping somebody to cross over, and then doing some more inner healing sessions after that, there's a lot more progress, and you'll see a lot more, acceleration. We are in the season of healing, folks. We need to let go of our religious mindset that's got to do it the same old way we've always done it. I mean, you can sit there for the next 10, 15, 20 years doing your breathing exercises and meditation, hoping that you finally get your breakthrough. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it all goes together. But I'll tell you what, the greatest revelation of grace I've ever found in the absence of my own ability to measure up was to simply swallow a plant and let the plant do it for me. And I come out without I didn't have to do anything except just face myself and embrace myself. And the end result was just freedom, like crazy freedom, And so, I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful that the Father put mushrooms on this planet, or some alien, I don't care. In my encounter with the Pleiadians, they were sweating crystals, and they would take the crystals out and sprinkle them, and they would fall on the ground and become magic mushrooms. And they said, we're the ones that put these here. We brought them here hundreds of thousands of years ago. We put them here for a telepathic link to remember your origin and your ancestors, and to begin to raise your frequency. It's funny because there's a lot of documentation on this. There's documentation on aliens being here. There's documentation on, everybody experiencing similar aliens on these psychedelics experiences, and also seeing fruit afterwards. So my thought was, okay, I saw it on the mushroom. Now I want to see if I see it off the mushroom. Well, I've been experiencing, I can look right now. The Galactic Federation is right there within me. I'm experiencing Pleiadian channeling and Arcturian light codes and all kinds of stuff shifting. And a couple different people, I started flowing, and they immediately started having encounters with these beings. Neither one of us had taken any mushrooms. And so I just want you to know that this is actually happening. But really, what is happening? Well, the only thing that's happening is a thought, is a mind that believes it's having a human experience. So again, balance everything that's happening in the reality that there is no reality at this level, only a simulation or the dream state of divinity known as the holy sitcom, or all of the dimensional states of the theater of fun for you to enjoy the show that you created as invisibility, looking for the embrace of itself visibly in the movie, okay? And so I think once we kind of understand that, we can eat from the mushroom of our own mind, since we're not eating anything outside of us, since there is nothing outside of you. So you kind of put all that together and it makes sense. And so I don't want to take everybody's time too long, but I want to encourage you, if for some reason you are going down that path of deciding to do mushrooms, I want to encourage you to make sure that you watch the series on Netflix called How to Change Your Mind. It shows several different ones. I want to say the second episode is about plant medicine, about mushrooms. And I think there's LSD, and then there's peyote, and I'm not sure if there's MDMA, one of those. But that one's good. Also the other one, Fantastic Fungi, which is talking about all kinds of mushrooms, not just magic. In fact, they only talk for about 10 minutes or less on the magic mushrooms. There's tons of stuff out there, tons of information, and be safe, set and setting, go slow. Don't use it to try to cure yourself. Use it to face yourself, and then partner with yourself to walk out what's been revealed in your trip, in your session, in your experience. And don't turn it into a religion. Right now we got churches popping up everywhere that worship the holy shroom. Okay, we don't need to go there. Why do we always need to worship something else? Just use it as the tool that it was meant for, and that is to heal your mind, to go within. And I'm telling you, it's legit, it's real. I used it back in the day in the opposite, didn't help me at all. I use it now, and it is working. I am calmer. I told my wife, I asked my wife, because in the beginning she was against it, because we'd been brainwashed and programmed by the system. Oh, I just don't want you to become a drug addict, And I said, well, these are supposedly non-addictive, And so after a couple of months in, I'd be going through it one day, and because we all still have our stuff, right? It's not a cure-all. I'd going through a trigger, and she's all, yeah, I think you need a microdose or something. I'd be like, what? You were the one telling me, what? I don't think you should. You don't. Maybe you shouldn't take this, or I don't want you to become a drug addict. Now she's like, yeah, go ahead. And I'm like, I laughed. I said, well, why is it now you're encouraging me to do it? And I had to think for a minute. Oh, I get it. I'm a lot nicer of a guy, aren't I? And so I'm a lot less crabby, aren't I? And so we both had a good laugh, And so for someone who was totally against it, preached against it, told everybody don't do it, thank God some of them did not listen to me. One dear brother, it really messed him up, and he knows I'm sorry for it, that I told him don't do it, but he did anyway, and he got a breakthrough. And I'm sure glad he didn't listen to me, because that was my arrogance, that was my pride. And again, I'm not telling people they should take it. This is, I'm not going to promote the illegal use of any substance. I'm just going to promote an educational overview that might help people on their journey based on the decision they are making. And I just want to encourage you that, if you do decide to venture into this experience, it's going to be over a season that you're going to be doing this. Large doses, you shouldn't take more than once every 20 days because it can cause some disassociation, and you want to be able to integrate. And microdosing, you could do 1 day on, 2 days off, or 4 days on, 3 days off. And we're talking, depending on the strain, you have to figure out what strain of mushroom you have, depending on how strong it is. Like the stuff that I was using, it was literally like a 32nd to a 16th of a teaspoon, very small, a pinch. And that was pretty, and because it was strong stuff. I say get the weaker stuff for microdosing, probably do 1/4 of a gram to 1/2 gram when it's the weak stuff, and really like 0.01 or to 0.05 on the stronger stuff. And you do that for 90 days and stack it with the other stuff like reishi and lion's mane, and it'll actually start recovering your brain, restoring your mind from all the processed foods, from all the psychological abuse from the media and the system and all of that, and religion. And so if you're going to do that, set it up that way. If you want more information, you can reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer your questions, talk with you about this stuff. I'm really excited. If people are scared because they're a Christian or religious people are attacking you, just get this book and you'll get a lot of info out of it that is actually revealing that this was a regular thing in the church, as well as in multiple religions. Like, I don't know if I can show you this picture right here. This is actually a picture here, or it's called the Christ column, the tall bronze Christ column, which Binward personally cast in 1020, stands more than 12 feet tall and is nearly 2 feet in diameter. Okay, let me see if I can get this picture in there. It's this one. I'm sorry, that one right there. You can see right there. Okay, that was in the church. Same with the other one. You see those things, those trees in the background? See what those are? Those are magic mushrooms. And this is Adam and Eve's, or his depiction of Adam and Eve in the garden. Of course, I don't know if that's it was called the Holy of Holies. Let's see, it says, so it was 12 feet tall, nearly 2 feet in diameter, this big old column he built. It says, ascending from the base in a coiling helix are 28 scenes from the life of Jesus, starting with his baptism and ending with his entering Jerusalem to instruct the initiates in the Holy of Holies. Binward had strategically placed the trifold mushroom tree, similar in every detail to the one in Eden, on the door in 5 of the seminal episodes of the life of Jesus, including the Transfiguration. And so you're going to find mushrooms all through the history of the church, all through the history of every religion. And so it seems to me that what that tells me is that since DMT is already in your brain, everything you're living is a simulation. And every religion took plant medicine to break open their version of God. Also reveals to me that psychedelics is very spiritual. But it is also sacred and should not be taken lightly and should not be taken disrespectfully. And we should honor Mother Earth, and we should, we honor the Father, but we need to honor the Mother. You'll also find that mushrooms will tend to carry the divine feminine more than the masculine, while DMT and maybe LSD is more about the divine masculine. They're more kind of punch you in the face kind of thing, kind of throw you in the deep end of the pool. Mushrooms, if you take a large dose, might do that as well. But mushrooms, well, you never know when the mushroom's going to decide to do a personal intervention on you. When you thought you were taking a microdose, the next thing you know, you're going inward and facing some pain in your life that needed to be resolved. That's what the mushroom does. It will speak to you about love. Everybody that I have talked to and everything I've researched on this and my own experience, even though everybody has their own experience, when everybody has the big experience, the ego disillusionment experience, they all say the same thing. In their experience, they died, and the death was all the constructs of their belief system about reality and about themselves was ripped away. They ceased to exist for a moment. Then they existed as all things and as one. And they got the cosmic joke that God had a dream he wasn't God. And that is what we've been living out. And it was all about fun. It was all about adventure. And so everybody has leveled up to the same explanation at the end of their experience when it comes to more of the global perspective of life. And yet each one had their own personal experiences that were different, but it all had the same theme. So how can that be? just by flooding your brain with serotonin that's already in your brain through a molecule that is a puzzle piece that fits perfectly in your brain, and it begins to network your left and right hemisphere so that you're no longer divided in your mind, but united in your mind. And it makes you look at yourself, embrace yourself, heal yourself, love your neighbor, love people, heal your marriage. This is all the fruit from it. So done in the right way, it is beautiful. And do you do it the rest of your life? No, you're going to do it for a season, and then you're going to go live your life in the peace and joy and bliss of what has occurred. And maybe a year or two later, you might visit it again. There might be another layer, but it's not really something you do for the rest of your life. It's something you do for a season based on you being drawn to it. And here's another thing I found that is interesting. It seemed that everything was coming to me when I was looking for a way out of my deathbed. That everything was coming, that shroom was coming to me. It's like everything I looked at online, it was a shroom. It was videos, Netflix. I'm like, what's all this about? So it seems that you're never to really go trying to find it. If you're supposed to do it, it'll come to you. It'll come to you. Maybe it's coming to you today, right now, through this broadcast. But the point is it will present itself. If you're supposed to do it, it'll come to you. And there'll be a perfect setup and a perfect environment for it to be done peaceably, lovingly, and in respect and in honor of the sacred plant medicine. So I'm going to leave it at that. And again, I'm sure I'm going to get people that are going to freak out on me. Maybe not you guys, but I've been getting people that are full inclusion. Like they believe we're all included in Christ, but they can't let go of their concepts that are still lingering around that. And I mean, I had to block people I love on Facebook. They were just attacking me. And I think it was on the post, if you've outgrown your Christianity, you're okay. It doesn't mean you're not in Christ. It just means you're outgrowing the religious side, the religiosity placed around a truth about being Christ. And so I made that statement. I wasn't trying to be mean, but I tell you, I had one guy on there just attacking me like crazy. And I'm like, wow, it's time to go, bro. You got to go. I just don't want to play with that or sit and have to explain myself. I want to be around people that receive me, that love me, and that I love them. And you know what? That's the world I'm creating for myself. That's the world you're creating for yourself. So I just want to say thank you to all of those, all of you that sat through this with me and heard my heart. And hopefully I brought a balanced view. Again, I'm not doing this video to promote any use of illegal substances, but for educational and informational purposes only. And I love you too, Desiree. And I appreciate all of you. And hopefully we'll be on again soon. Hopefully this next Tuesday. I know that we're getting ready to do a gathering. And I did put it in the beginning of the video. And let me just say it again. That we will be in, okay, where is it? We will be in Fort Wayne, Indiana this next week, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. We will be doing a gathering in a house at 1114 Ruston Pass, Ruston Pass, Fort Wayne, Indiana 46825, 7 p.m. Come on down if you're near the Fort Wayne area. And we're going to get totally whacked and snockered in grace and peace and love and spiritual reality. And so it's going to be awesome. And we will see you hopefully this next Tuesday. We're going to jump on and do another video, my wife and I. Maybe we'll talk about star seeds. Who knows? I like these new interesting topics. You know why? Because when you're freed from religion and you could just simply be the embodiment of love, you can have fun with every religion and go, wow, that's really cool. You can actually just experience life. What would we do if we just experienced life and no longer needed to define what was good and what was not good and what if, right? And so I love the what ifs. So let's practice on some what ifs. and know that I'm an advocate for psychedelics done the right way. And I am believing for the full legalization of them, and that they will not be patented or set aside for the rich or for the few, but they will be given to the public. Of course, I do believe in caution. I think that maybe when you're 25, maybe, you know, I think it needs to be stipulated that even if you're 18 or 19 doesn't mean you're ready for this. I think there needs to be like an age set, like 25, something like that, to say, okay, there's been enough maturity in my life that I'm willing to face myself in these areas. I could see that. But I am an advocate, and I'm an advocate for the revelation of Christ through the mushroom and through our spiritual heritage, which obviously promotes psychedelics. So I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and we'll see you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.